like day 21. So I'm like
Yeah.
block 3 from St. Jacobs.
Ooh,
It is
okay.
10%.
Okay,
That's
so
that's
there
just
is
whiskey, right?
there's
Just like,
like we were saying before, like at least have those maybe I don't know before or after the like do you know what I
I
mean? Like
just
space them out strategically in the days versus just like on a Thursday.
it's been that see that's genius. Like this should be a Friday night or like a
Yeah, that's
Saturday,
right. Yeah.
not Sunday because after Sunday comes Monday. But man, why on earth is any beer this strong?
It's funny that you have an obligation to drink it though. Otherwise, you're behind on your advent calendar, and then it's just like, well, I got 2 beers at 10% now.
My folks were doing it with me, and they started to get behind. So I'm sending
Oh,
the
okay.
messages like, it's like, hey, what'd you think of today's beer? They're like, oh, we're behind. It's like lack of commitment. Where's your,
Missing out on the bonding. What is
you never
going on?
you never raised me to be a quitter. Like, why,
We
how
just set
dare
the
you?
example.
How dare you do that yourself? Oh, all right. We are live across the system. Let's get this recording underway. Uh, hmm. Okay, I'm gonna do this in a different way. Ready? And we'll get things started. The kids are asleep. Adult beverages did pour. Gather round, dear listener, for what new dads have in store. A show to review the gaming year that was had, the good games played by kids, and just a few played by dad. As we march forth together, by plane, train, or rover, know that becoming a dad does not mean game over. Well,
Okay. Okay, hold on here. Hold on. For those listening, Trevor did not tell me that he was going to come up with his awesome holiday poem,
Rose.
like storybook. Now I feel like it needs illustrations to go along with it. This is amazing. That was awesome.
The best part was like you were messaging like, can we get started yet? I'm like, not yet. Type.
Okay, wow.
And
All
I'll say like
right.
rhyming over is not easy.
I that is true. Whoa,
So
good job. I congratulate you. Like that's it. Wrap up the show. It's over.
that is the entire podcast, just one
Yeah.
minute. Everybody, welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff, festive Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
So this is one of 2 special holiday episodes we're doing. The new dads are taking a holiday break, so we'll be gone, but we did want to get a few episodes in the hopper to take along with you through this holiday season. And we will start things coming from a place of gratefulness for those who had been with us, all the dads who have been out there interacted with us on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram, everywhere else. Thank you so much. It means absolutely the world to both of us. We cannot express enough what it means to us for you guys to be along with the journey. For anybody just joining with us, welcome. This is a phenomenal space for fatherhood, fathers looking to participate with their kids in gaming, healthy, fun, positive type space. Consider a subscription or a review on any of the podcasting networks where you might find us. So with that, we get kicked off. And this first episode, one of 2 special holiday episode, is the year that was. We look back at the past year, and from a gaming dad perspective, how did it all look? And Jeff, like, why don't you kick us off? And in some ways, 2 ways we could talk about this first would be for your kids. What was some of the themes of this year in gaming?
Yeah, so absolutely. The kids this year were all over the place in terms of gaming. It was no surprise that, Roblox still held the top tier of their top 10 list. But I will say that we got into a lot of old school first person shooters. I think my kids were at that age that they could handle it, and it was fun, and it was something that it was like, hey, okay, let's get into it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with them, they had a blast playing with good old dad, some old Quake games, Quake 1 and 2,
amazing.
and even GoldenEye. When GoldenEye launched on Nintendo 64 online, we had a blast playing that. They had a lot of fun making fun of it. I mean, saying these are the graphics dad played with when he was a child.
That's like, oh, you poor dad. Is this what you suffered through when you were young?
Exactly, and then like the no mouse look or anything, like they had to press the buttons to. Yeah, it was a lot, but it was fun. I think they enjoyed it. They keep coming back to especially the Quake games.
Mm,
So it's something that we had a blast playing. It was a little bit more mature than what they're used to.
mm.
So it was fun. I think it was a good time. But what about your kids? Where are they
Yeah,
at? Where were they at in
it
2023?
Roblox. This year
Roblox.
was the story of Roblox. It's the first time we allowed them into it, and it just completely took over the household.
Yeah.
There was no looking back. It was the be all, the end all. And how it spurred out was kind of fascinating. So, the games itself, they would start to do some funny things where, in planning the weekend, because I mean, one of the other themes was a removal of a lot of games, in
Yeah.
so much as we had attempted. It's like, okay, we'll let you maybe have a bit of. You had a hard day at school, and then you went to aftercare, and you're running around. Then you had swimming. So tell you what, go ahead and have a bit of games. That'll be fun. But it ultimately did not end well. Like their grades kind of suffered, attitudes were a little bit off. So that's something we actually pulled back. And it's like, no, no, games are a weekend only thing now. Like we
Right.
tried it, didn't pan out. Away we go. And with with Roblox, that just became like the weekend became this entire event. Every week was about the weekend, to the point where they're like writing out lists of like, okay, here's the Roblox games we're gonna do.
Oh wow.
Like first, right, and then maybe just a little bit of Minecraft, and then we'll switch to like another Roblox game. So, so that was just fascinating. There was some dips into somewhat more complicated games. So there was a few RPGs that my son had started to play with, like Lost Two Souls or something to that effect. There
Nice.
was there's that really great Greek game from Ubisoft, Phoenix.
Oh, right, right. Where you're like the
Yeah,
Greek gods or whatever. Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix
Is that what
Rising,
it
very
is?
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was fascinating to see. That's a game that I found mechanically dense and enjoyable myself, and then my son was just ripping through it to
Yeah.
a surprising degree. So like he was accomplishing everything. So I found that to be notable. It's like, whoa, this is a very big step up. This is not just a simple jump get to the end. Like this is a
Right.
very much a puzzle solving, deep mechanic, difficulty curve game, like a true game in that sense. So I think really this year for in our household was the story of Roblox, and then some more complexity had started to enter in, setting us up for the next year.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good cap on the year.
I think so. Now my favorite though with you, if I can cue up your story, was certainly the first midnight launch with your kids.
Yeah, yeah. So this was just one of the highlights of 2023. I took my kids to the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom midnight launch, and it was quite an experience. I think if everybody goes back and listens to the show, there were some ups and downs
Hmm,
to it, but like I was telling in the pre-show, we were talking a little bit about it, and we had to get teacher gifts tonight because it's year end and
of course.
stuff, and we rolled into the same plaza, and my 13-year-old is like, what was really awesome this year, just totally unprompted, going to that midnight launch, right? So that made me feel really good. Like it was
That's so
obviously a good
cool.
highlight. We had brought the laptop with a bunch of movies on it. We just hung out, ate candy in the car all the way up to midnight in our pajamas, right? And then lined up, got the game, but then like went home to bed because it was 1 a.m. That was kind of the down part of like
Ah,
not so much organized, and then we didn't even get to play it, right? Dad
yeah.
got to play it because dad needed to experience like something. We
And you
got something out of this, right?
you gotta test the waters first. You gotta
Yeah,
make sure it's okay for the kids. You gotta stay up a little bit. That's okay.
exactly. But they had a blast. They wanted to do it again. They might even look at what other midnight launches are happening. Hopefully, they still do
Mm,
them. Right, a lot of that is kind of a little bit rare now with
yeah, of
the digital age kind of coming
course.
into full force. So that would be a good one to, look at for this coming year. See what we can do there.
No,
But
absolutely. I love that as they get older, and it's good because you're kind of a bellwether for myself, where I get to see the ups and
yeah,
downs of your experiences. Hey, I tried this
that's
with my
right.
slightly older kids, didn't work out. And I get to just check a box, like, okay, that's not a good thing.
Yeah,
But to see you have those experiences as your kids become more of age, where it's like, okay, you're older now, you can handle this. Like
yeah,
now, be it like I'm curious if maybe they'll do. I think you had a bit in the competitive Minecraft scene, like maybe if they did get into like a gaming tournament somewhere, like you could just start to, as yours enter into these older ages where they're able to take on more responsibility and just even more complexity with the games. I think your world opens up a heck of a lot, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, no, it can expand pretty quickly depending on,
Mm.
you know, again, my 13-year-old was really, really big into some, I guess, Minecraft Skyblock or whatever he called it. But it was something that he was legitimately looking at competitions.
Mm.
And it was one of those things where like, whoa, are we at that point? Like, I'm not sure
Mm.
where we are with that, but I could definitely see it happening, especially with, again, they're going into high school. They got a pretty tight friends group, and who knows, maybe
Mm.
high schools now do esports. I have no idea. We'll
Wow.
find out next year.
Do you think they'd set up esports like as a team, so they'd put together an Overwatch team or a Minecraft team competitively like together, or do you think they do go solo?
I think they would do it together just because of the way they play. All I hear is them,
Mm.
coordinating and laughing together and stuff. And I think if they took themselves out of that, it's a little bit
Mm.
less fun. I think if you're in there with your friends and a team, then, the highs and lows again, I think that's something that they would kind of chase with the
Mm.
next game. So, again, we're looking to high school and seeing what else is out there. And again, more complex games and where they can Google around themselves on,
Mm.
hey, what else is going on with this game? So we'll see. Maybe I'll see you out there at a competition, Trevor. I don't know. Maybe I'll be live
It'll
from the ground.
it'll ruin this podcast because it'll be my kids' team versus your team, and it's just like we'll be sniping each other. Like everything just goes to pot.
That's right. Right.
Now I'll put this is a bit on the spot, so I'll talk about mine first because I have it queued up. But I'm thinking about what game had the most impact, and that's in a sense like what do you have look back on the year and have like the fondest memory as far as gaming with your kid this year. Now for myself, I worry it's a little bit of recency bias, just given like that was somewhat more recent. But Super Mario Wonder, uh,
Oh,
because the reason it is because it was the three of us. Now, often because of the age split, 8 and 6, it's not. In some ways, it's not far apart, but in other ways, it's pretty far apart as far as the maturity. And we just did not seem to all sync up for one game all the time together. Honorable mention to Rubber Bandits, which still we
yes, I
had a
remember that.
phenomenal time. Oh man, we had so much fun with that. Boomerang Fu, which is
Yep.
always such a huge hit, it remains a huge hit in our house. But Super Mario Wonder, the amount of time they wanted to play it, they wanted to beat it, and consistently it's like, let's all come on, everybody come together, let's play. And then like the hippos would come in, and you hit one of the mushrooms. The next thing you know, the entire thing blows up, and there's like a train of bison flying through.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
on the ground laughing.
Yeah.
So between the fact that it brought us all together consistently, and they kept trying to drag us in, they beat it. Like we all beat it together, and just that uproarious laughter, by far, as far as like the game that was the highlight as the family, like that one for sure on our side reigns supreme. Did you have one on your end that kind of shines amongst the others?
Yeah, again, I will say again, right off the top, it will be Zelda. And it's not just because like, oh, it's popular, whatever.
Mm.
It was the amount that was in the game that my kids could experiment with
Mm.
and have a blast with. So again, you
Yep.
could attach any weapon to anything, and like the environment was all moldable, and you could build all these structures within Zelda, which was really cool to them.
Mm.
And then they would show each other and me, look what I built, or look what I got for you, or hey dad, try out that stuff, right? And they were very much involved.
Mm.
Whereas the other games where they'd sit and watch me play, or we'd watch somebody else play. But with this one, they took an active part in it. I'm like, hey, let's see if you can do that, right? Let's see if you can like mount your shield with a
Yeah.
a spiked barrel and then surf down a rope. Like it was just one of those things that was crazy, and they
There's no
loved it.
way. There's no
Yeah.
way. Oh my God, he's doing
Yeah,
it!
happened. Nintendo, you're crazy. So we had a blast with that one. I think that one sticks in my mind. And then very close runner up would be Boomerang Food, because we always come back to it. It's always our party game. When they bring friends over, they want like me to go in as an added fourth to see how this game works out. And it's just something that's so much fun. And it's just harmless pick up and play stuff. So
Perfect.
yeah, no,
That's
those
like-
two for sure.
We'll have to check again next year because
Yeah.
if Boomerang Fu continues to be just like, we'll have to talk to them about a New Dad Gaming tie-in, because we just continually bring it up, but it is just that good.
I think so too. It's some DLC there. We
Yeah.
could definitely have something.
Our faces as fruit or something like that.
It'd be the 10% beer that you're drinking. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, this is. I'm powering through this. Like episode's gonna get sloppy if we're not careful. Now, moving on to you yourself. So when you think back, it's one of the most fascinating things. It's the reason that we created this podcast. Is that as somebody who enjoys personal time to play video games, like that's one of your hobbies, and it gets taken away in a sense because now you have responsibilities as a parent. It's fascinating to reflect back on years that were, and we can think back to when we had our infants and we had tiny kids, next to no games because it's a busy time. There's very little sleep, lots of stress, and then it slowly creeps up. And it just happened that our kids tend to enjoy games, so it's now something we share. But now looking back at this year, like how would you reflect upon your own gaming dad year in review?
I think this is one of my better years for gaming, just because
There's
of the
hope.
amount.
There's hope.
Yeah.
It all gets better.
The amount of options, again, like I talked about with my kids, we could play the games that I kind of wanted to play or I experienced. So they were involved more with the games themselves, as well as my own gaming sessions that were brought on by the Steam Deck that I had so much playtime with and just allowed me to game whenever I could. Because, like you said, there's responsibilities and life get in the way. Like, again, even just tonight recording this episode, my son had to pick out high school courses. So it's just like life creeps up.
Yeah.
And kids are kind of variables in that, but those tools are out there, and I think a lot of the stuff like streaming games and stuff will help us through. So yeah, it's definitely on the up. I think
you go.
upswing for me. So, but what about yourself? Let's see.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
Well, we laughed. We laughed a whole bunch because we looked at my gaming numbers and it was just so abysmal. I think
It was pretty low. It was
kind of sad. The one thing I'd forgotten though was I did play what I feel to be a very enjoyable amount of Diablo 4,
oh right,
which would not have been captured on any of those kind of stats. So
yeah.
for myself, I think it was like bombastic starts and then like weak petering outs of each. And where I mean by that, remember, dear listeners, when I was playing Elden Ring for a hot minute, for like a month,
For a month, and that was it. Yes,
it was awesome, and I don't. It's the best part. What I'm happy about is I don't have any regrets. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that, or I shouldn't have spent that time, because there was no great successes where I really had this like I defeated this game like I wanted to, and this was good.
Yeah,
because for instance, Elden Ring, nowhere close, but the time in it was just. I still look back so fondly, and in fact, because I set up a new streaming setup, which I'll kind of talk about in a second, I'm hoping to get kind of back into it.
right.
So
Okay.
you'll recall it was Elden Ring, huge, like this is fantastic and great, and then unfortunately it kind of petered out. There was Starfield.
Right.
Spent a
Yes.
a good amount of time in Starfield, and again, positive, happy. I'm like, I had a great time. Nowhere close to beating, but just didn't really step back into it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we had Diablo 4. I thought, okay, maybe this would be something I can do, and I can like do the seasons. And I tried the first season, and then I petered out. So Elden Ring, and then Starfield, and Diablo 4.
Those spikes and valleys. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the mix for those ones, and especially what's interesting with Starfield and Diablo 4 is like those are like recent titles that
Right.
kind of
yeah.
participated, and that's usually one of those things that go by the wayside for gaming dads because the new hotness comes out and you're not going to really have time for it, so you don't know if you want to jump in at all.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I think with Marvel Snap, that was the that was the game of the year for me in some ways because it fits so perfectly with my card battler style, super dad friendly, and then finding whatever tiny little community we have on Twitch. Like a couple folks that come and join me, I find great joy in streaming it on Twitch, even if it's not necessarily to much of an audience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fantastic. So, it was a great way to end the year on that particular one. So for myself, there's a lot of bombastic starts petering out, a couple good discoveries, and also, to be fair, a pretty bad year for gaming. Did not game a whole heck of a lot, but I feel encouraged for upcoming years.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to look at it. And with Marvel Snap, it took you a bit to get there too, right? You had a trial and error period.
Oh yeah,
You were trying a whole
dropped
bunch
it.
of other games, right? But you found it. You found
Mhm.
that gem, that hidden. Well, it wasn't really hidden. It was very popular.
Little
But
indie title called Marvel Snap. Little tiny company named Marvel that might just make it.
yeah, yeah, and I can share some of that where you have the boombastic highs and kind of peters out because I've mentioned on this show like Fallout 4. I'll go
Mhm.
into an old style game, be overwhelmed with doing everything, and then kind of like, okay, this is kind of like work now, and I don't want to be in this world anymore. Like, I'm reading every note and going through every
Yeah.
like drawer in the post-apocalyptic world. I'm like, okay, I can't do this because otherwise I'm never gonna finish.
Yeah. It is a roller coaster. I think a lot of gaming dads would be able to relate to. But
Yeah, I
if
agree.
anything else, what's been curious, and this will play more into the next episode where we're going to talk about the gaming future. And that's largely because by the end of the year, everything I was doing was very much setting up, looking back at the year I had. It's like, all right, how can I make games more available? Like, how can
Right.
I kind of have just blanket games around the house in a way so that I can really access it? And where I find myself now is that I've set up Steam Link on all my devices. Like on Black Friday, I got a bunch of new routers to try to like increase like the bandwidth. I have the backbone I'm going to use a lot more for the new year in playing game streaming with the Xbox.
Right.
So just trying to find like, all right, where's and with something like Marvel Snap, it's on tablet. It's like quickly, it's a quick game you can like dip into
Yeah.
here and there without big commitments. So I think if anything, like the end of the year was, all right, let's set up the future. Let's like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
this
No,
last
that's
year
a
was a
good way.
disappointment. Let's make sure the next is better.
I'm gonna learn from my mistakes and
That's the
make a
one.
better plan. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Hey, gaming dads, I'll do it for this one. I said we wanted to reach out. We wanted to have kind of a quick little episode here. And once again, we'll swing back around and say thank you to all the listeners who have been with us and all the subscribers. Jeff and I cannot thank you enough. We've been doing this here for 7, coming on 8 years. Passion project, just absolutely adore it. And now to have some folks that we speak with, like messages back and forth, like the numbers going, means the absolute world to us. This is just so much fun. And one of the funnest parts is hearing back and forth. So if you want to reach out, do you have your own stories about the year in review? We'd love to be able to share some of the stories. A particular game that was just gangbusters in your house. Your year. How would you summarize your gaming year? We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to feature your story. So at New Dad Gaming on all the socials. So Twitter, Threads, Instagram, at New Dad Gaming Podcast on Twitch. And otherwise, if you want to reach us at our website, newdadgaming.com. Absolutely would love to hear from you. Any words there, Jeff? And thanks and
One,
gratitude and looking back.
yeah, I'll piggyback and just say it was a fantastic year for myself and you just doing the podcast and hearing from a lot of people. We've got a lot of listeners now that are interacting with us, which is great, and hearing those stories and taking those
Mm-hmm.
back. And it does make you feel a little bit more a part of a group, right? Like part of a community. And so it's good to see that and good to hear from other people that may be further ahead of me. So I'm not just an example for Trevor all the time. So anybody that wants to, has older kids or something, that I am open for any advice and any stories. So yes, please reach out. And again, thanks to all listeners so far and in the future.
There we are. Hey, everybody. So if you like the podcast, you can find us on all the major podcasting networks. You can look for iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Caster, anywhere where you get your podcast. Just search for New Dad Gaming. We, as mentioned, really appreciate a subscription, a comment, and especially a rating on the show. Helps us cast out to as many gaming dads as possible. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This has been New Dad Gaming. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Cheers to the year that was, and stay tuned for our holiday episode discussing the year that will be. Remember, just because you became a dad.
Does not mean it's game over.
But dump. Best part is your reaction to the poem. That was my favorite.
Yeah,
part.
that was amazing, man. I did
I
not
didn't-
expect that.
I didn't want to tell you about it. It's like, what fun is that? It's like, oh, we're gonna be late because I'm writing a poem. Give me a second.
No, that's amazing. I loved it. It was so like, what are you doing? This
What is
okay?
this?
We should do this every show. Why aren't we doing this every show?
Man, that'd be a fun challenge. Good. All right, the gaming year that will be.
Yes.
Episode 2. Anybody watching live? It's like, well, they just said goodbye. Why are they still talking?
It's like the show must go on.
Oh, all right. hit the next episode, because again, I'll say we are live. The kids are asleep. Let's toast a nice beverage. Let's predict futures with hopes we can leverage. Look ahead at the pastimes we share with our kin, the battles we'll face, and the games we might win. Cheers to your next year with all the luck of a clover. Know that becoming a dad does not mean game over. Welcome,
This is
everybody.
so good. Hold on. Once again, I didn't expect two.
Yeah. You gotta have one for each of these holiday episodes.
I mean,
Right.
Trevor's surprising even me, listeners out there, with these new poems out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hidden talent. Okay.
Everybody, welcome to New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Episode 2 of 2 from our special holiday series. The gaming dads here are taking a holiday break, but we wanted to make sure we record a couple things to join you in coming into the brand new year. Last holiday episode, we looked at the year that was. So the previous year, what did it look like from a gaming dad perspective? Both how your kids and your household were gaming. How did you do as a gaming dad? And hoping by the time you're hearing this, we've heard some really great stories. Definitely reaching out to you, and that's a really great place to start. As we mentioned on the other one, and we'll never be able to say this enough, everybody who has been with us, who's subscribed, who has listened, who has written it into us, thank you. Like, Jeff and I are just a couple
Yes.
regular gaming dads, and to have any degree of folks who would spend their time to listen to us is unbelievably heartwarming. So from them, super sincerely, everybody who has been with us here for now, thank you very much.
Yeah, I will reiterate all that because it's just something that I look forward to every week, and I look forward to talking with you about gaming and dadding, and hearing from our fans and the audience at large and what stories they have to tell. So yes, thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if you are just tuning in, we'd really appreciate if you hop on any of the podcasting networks, Google, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else where you get your podcast. Just search for New Dad Gaming. Subscription, a rating, and a comment helps greatly with the show. We'd love to hear from you at New Dad Gaming on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, wherever you find it, and newdadgaming.com. But now we turn our gaming dad focus to the year that will be.
Yes.
So it is about hope. It's about promise. It's about it is unlike Scrooge and the terrible future that would be for him. Our future is darn bright. So as you come around to this, like, is gaming, that's an interesting way to start. This would be kind of a left field question, so I apologize.
Okay.
But does gaming enter into the mix? Because usually you come to this time of year and it's like, okay, how did last year go? What would I like to do different this year? I'd like to spend more time outdoors. I'd like to go for walks. I want to make sure I spend more time studying or reading. There's usually some like degree of hope and like,
Right.
hope springs eternal every like kind of new year. Does gaming ever enter into that mix for you specifically, or is it more kind of on the periphery for what you might want to do?
So it's funny when you mentioned that. Again, left field question. So I wasn't prepped
Yeah.
on this. I am thinking on my feet. But before I got on the show, the Steam sale started, right? So the Steam Winter Sale
I almost spit
Just-
out my drink.
just started, okay?
Yeah.
So you see where I'm going with this? Like, I have a wish
yes,
list
sir.
of stuff. I think everybody has a wish list. They're like, hey, look at all the games. And I honestly look at them and I'm like, okay, what have I played this year? And what can I actually, like, what did I actually like? And what can I take forward to next year? Because
Nice.
I'll buy this and I won't probably get the time to play it until 2024. So, and then that's when I go through and kind of reflect, like, what actually do I like? Because I like these enough to put them on my wish list, but am I actually going to play them? I'm not sure, right? So I had to go through. And so that's funny that you asked that question because that's where my mind went. I'm like, yes, I think I kind of do, just in like this Steam capitalist way with a wish list.
Yeah, the Steam stuff, like, I was right there too. Like, I got that same email right before we got live, and I was kind of
Yeah.
poking through. There's a couple of VR titles. There was a few. I was chuckling because Witcher is down to like $12. The
I
Witcher
mean,
3.
at this point,
I might as well just so I can experience what you experience.
yes.
But with that, it's the thought of, will I get into this game?
Yeah.
Am I actually going to play it? Because my backlog is just pathetic. Like, it's ridiculous, right? And I'm finding, especially with myself, with some games like Diablo 4, like Starfield, like Elden Ring, which I'd mentioned in the last episode we recorded.
Yep.
It just feels like, and look, I don't owe anybody anything. I purchased these things. I had a great time with them. So it's not a remorse. It's not like I'm holding myself to a standard necessarily. But it's also, am I just chasing a high of the purchase as opposed to the actual playing? Because what I ultimately found, and it's advice that we've given consistently on the show, which is just play the game.
Yeah.
Because all too often we'll like overthink it, be worried about some sort of commitment as opposed to just like picking up a controller and like going for it. For instance, I was playing, apropos of nothing, I was playing, oh no, let's see. I was playing this great game.
You were playing
It's
this
like
amazing game. I can't remember any of it.
It's a racing game. It's back when the first game that came out with PlayStation 2 and then 3 that had crazy collisions and car physics.
Burnout?
Burnout
Yeah.
Paradise. Burnout Paradise,
Ooh.
I think Ultimate whatever. Yeah,
Okay.
360 title. Blast. Having so much fun. Again, it's so simple. Like
Yeah.
it's so naive. It's like, oh, look at you. There's no microtransactions. There's no online play. It's just a whole
You just
game
go.
package.
Yeah.
But I love that game. I love racing games. And it's one of those ones that I can stream to my device and just pick up and play
Nice.
and just kind of immediately go in. So part of me, again, was like, our seminal advice, the advice that's constant throughout this entire show is always like, just play the game. And often when I think about that, when I go to purchase new games, is that really going to heighten my enjoyment of games as opposed to kind of like, unless I'm really excited about it, but is it really on a Steam sale, am I just chasing a purchase high as opposed to this will further my enjoyment of playing video games?
Yeah, I feel that as well. And sometimes it is like when you get the game, you play it for a little bit and you develop kind of like a guilt because you're like, I don't really like this game, but I bought it. I kind of have to give it a good shake and then set it aside. And I found that some of the games I buy or purchase are more to collect them versus actually get into them. Because I'll watch a YouTube video of it or a review, read something else, and I kind of want to have it versus playing it, which sounds weird. Like it's just maybe I'm collecting things more than I am playing them, and that's where I kind of get caught up on this wish list where I'm like, okay, maybe stop collecting. Maybe I can put the brakes on that for a little bit. And what games do I actually want to dive in that are like manageable? I think because like myself, Witcher 3 and like Fallout 4, like huge open worlds, and I'm like, I don't want to exhaust myself too much on those kind of genre of games as well.
Yeah, I can think of, it's like Ori Will o' the Wisp, for instance. Like it's a gorgeous, beautiful game, and I have it. At any point I could play, and there's always been that sort of delay in playing it, and just like, why not just play that game and have like a really fun time, but then there's like the grander things like, well, Diablo, I should maybe try to spend some time in the season, or Elite Dangerous, I haven't played that for, you know what I mean? Like there's this weird desire for an overarching quote unquote progress that almost prevents like tiny enjoyable experiences, right? So I think the kind of like segues nicely into all this, which is like for the new year,
right?
For myself, it's very much going to be getting out of my own way and just enabling games. I look back at this past year, as you heard from the last couple episodes we've had, dismal, like just pathetic numbers. For somebody who claims to be a gaming dad, like he barely played any games. Like I'm gonna get kicked off my podcast soon.
You were just more on the dad side versus the gaming side. That's okay.
But so at the end of the year, I'd mentioned this on the last episode. Everything in the last couple of months has kind of been setting up the new year. So like new routers in the house to enable game streaming. Steam Link set up for the first time on an iPad and iPhone. New phone, like I'm going from like an iPhone mini to an iPhone Plus.
Right.
Which is like literally double the phone size, specifically so I could better use the backbone and stream more games. I'm thinking about setting up the PlayStation streaming.
Oh wow, okay.
I got the PS4 here.
That's
and
true.
I never beat Dad of War. I never beat what's the one with the girl with the red hair?
Horizon.
I never beat Horizon. It's an amazing game. I got this whole back catalog, and I could just stream it to the phone. So pick up phone, play game, just get into it. right?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
I
my
can understand that.
so this year is about, removing any last. There's not a lot of barriers, but even still, it's just kind of like removing whatever last barriers exist and
Yeah.
getting over my own resistance, so I can get into it and just play more games.
It will be, difficult at first, but that willpower over the year,
Now,
I'll keep you in check.
thank you very much. That's entirely what this show is going to be. It's like tell me how many games you played this
Yeah.
week. Did you have fun? You better have had fun. You yourself, like, we are approaching the whole next year. We'll start with yourself, then we'll get to the kids. But for
Yeah.
you, what does Jeff's 2024 look like?
So I have said to myself, it's okay to play games on the easy difficulty level.
There we go. That's a very
Uh,
healthy step. This feels like a
I
dad support group now.
it really does because a lot of the times I'll start a game and I'll do like the normal mode. God of War is an example, right? I'll do the normal mode because I want to experience some of the tension, I
Hmm.
guess. Like, oh, like I actually have to pay attention to what I'm upgrading or what I'm doing in the
Mm.
level versus just kind of going through it. But then I get to a point where like I challenge myself a little too much. I kind of get worn out with,
Mm.
the Elden Ring and Dark Souls where like those games are enjoyable to me, but they really set the tension, right?
Mm.
And going into other games where I kind of experience that tension a little bit and I'm on the couch and I'm like, well, I don't really feel like I want to be challenged and I end up not really playing the game or just kind of
Mm.
dropping it and moving on, right? So I said to myself for next year, or this coming year, know your limit, play within it. Um, it's okay to like drop that difficulty level down, even mod it, because I think I've talked about
Mm.
that a little bit this past year.
Absolutely.
I'm getting more into modding, just like taking that kind of stuff out that I don't need right now in order for me to complete the game. Again,
Hmm.
I don't want to ruin the experience for anyone that wants to experience it that specific way, but for myself,
Mm.
I want something that I can get into, complete, and then just be kind of chill about it. I think I'm at a point where it's I don't necessarily want all that challenge. To be
Yeah.
honest, I want a little bit of it, a little taste, but I do not want to lose minutes of my life to go back to a previous save or something of that nature, right? Where or I corner myself in like
Mm.
skill points. I always find skill trees now.
Mm.
Before I used to love them. Everything about like Final Fantasy X and like the sphere of connecting things and stuff.
Hmm.
Now I look at skill trees, specifically Fallout 4. I'm like, nope. Like
Just
I don't
no
want to
thanks.
like yeah, I don't want to take my character in a direction where it's going to be even more difficult because I dumped in the wrong points, right? Or figuring out the math to make things work with
Hmm.
my weapons better or whatever. So, difficulty down, modded my skill points, and I'm
Yep.
just out there having a fun time. And I think
Amazing.
that helps. And I think going forward, that will help in a lot of games for me to complete.
I think that the mods are fantastic. I remember one of my favorite mods, and I'll do this on every. I did it with Starfield immediately. Was
Yeah.
carry weight.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
oh, you picked up too many cans of spoiled beef. You can't walk anymore. It's like, you know what, man? Just I get it, but just take that garbage somewhere else. I don't give a damn. And it was the greatest thing ever because I modded it. I could carry a million. I'm just walking through, just pick it all up. I don't need to think about it because eventually at some point it's like, oh, you need to craft this or this or that
Yes.
so you can upgrade the weapon. It's like, do you have 16 spindles of copper?
Yeah.
Oh no, you only had 14. And you're like, forget this noise. Just grab anything and everything in sight and don't think about it again. And that made I did it first with Fallout 4 and just never looked back. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
just beautiful, like just chef kiss.
Yeah.
And
I could see it.
yeah, Elden Ring, I cheated. Elden Ring, I had put up my sponsor of the show actually we had, which was Plitch, which
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they enable cheats and they do so in such a way that doesn't really ruin. Like they don't. If you run Plitch, you can't enter other people's games
Yeah.
in Elden Ring, for instance.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
because one of the
Would be.
problems would be like, okay, mod it, you throw your power through the roof to 1,000, and then you enter someone else's game and ruin their game. They actually
Yeah.
program it specifically so you can't do this type of stuff. So shout out to one of the sponsors we had. Um, well, it was amazing because it's like I got to just like storm around this world. It was gorgeous. Like I got to see everything. It just gave me a bit of a leg up. There was still a challenge. Like some of the mid-level bosses like could still kill me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
If you're
as I was
not
getting
careful. Yeah.
but at every point, if it ever just got kind of bad, I'd just like crank my level a bit so I could get past them.
Yeah.
It's like I appreciate the get good mentality, but dad don't got time for that. So I'd prefer not to spend an hour practicing. I'm just gonna like kind of blast through. So this might be one of the themes for us, which is just like the year of easy, the year of mods. Like
Yeah.
let's have some fun.
Yeah. I think so too. I think I'm looking forward to it because again, it just means more games completed at the end of the year. That next year's year end will be like, oh my god, look how many games from the backlog that were knocked off. Look at the AAA games that we completed. All this stuff.
Hmm.
No achievements, but look at all the games I completed.
I got banned from Blizzard. I
Yeah.
got banned from Steam.
Exactly.
Just lifetime bans across the board. I'm back to my old Super Nintendo. It's all I
Yeah.
can play.
Yeah.
Now so that's for us. That's what we're looking for. Now for your kids, as you're kind of plotting out the year, you're thinking about the year that they had. Like, could you think? It's sort of a weird one to tell because like kids are just little vessels of boundless potential. So
Right.
so who knows which paths they take? But if you had to try to come up with a path that they might chart this next year, like what do you think the next year for your kids will be in game
Yeah.
specifically? Sorry, of course.
Yeah, for sure. With my kids, they again go in and out of phases with games and new games and these side games and Roblox and other games. And it's one of those ones where I'll always like research what the game is and then give them the go ahead and then just kind of be done, right? Step aside,
Hmm.
let them have fun. And I kind of want to do it next year a little bit differently where they're allowed to present those new games and those side quests, let's say,
Hmm.
of different experiences, but I also want to maybe put the effort in to join them.
Hmm.
So I'll, again, like I said, I would sidestep and let them kind of go off on their own, but maybe I should make that added effort to go into
Hmm.
their space of game that they're interested in and play it with them and see how it is. And
Hmm.
maybe my first impression of the game is not the greatest, right? And get in with them and have a good time that way and bond
Nice.
through their games versus what I think I do the other way, right? Like, oh hey kids, come check out this game, it's
Here's what I
awesome.
like.
Yeah, exactly. We did all that, all those childhood years. I played with you a lot, like whatever you want to do, now it's dad's time.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I'll go with it. I think
Hmm.
let them lead a little bit. I still want to give them that freedom
Hmm.
and choose their own path and their own interests, and then I can meet them in those games.
Amazing.
So
Yeah, that's a really good one. I think I found myself a little bit last year trying that. It's hard with I'll say this, it's hard with Roblox.
it
As
is.
much as you just said that,
Yeah.
forget Roblox. 'Cause it's just like it is so janky from an adult perspective.
Yeah.
I find it really like even some streamers I've found that I liked, they started to get into Roblox and it's just hard to watch. Even as entertaining and fascinating as they are, like it's just like I really dislike these games. I don't know what it is. I appreciate it. I'm happy my kids like it, and I sort of have come to respect the marketplace that it is. But it's just the thought that I'm going to sit down and play Roblox with them. It's just I can't necessarily do it. But besides that, like yeah, like I would like to see really carve out, make sure I'm waking up on the weekends and carving out that specific amount of time. That's like no, let's enjoy this together. Let's do this. And I think for me though, the challenge will be is that because of where they're at right now, where
Yeah.
there's still no games during the week, and it's only on the weekend, so their weekend is fairly sacred,
Right.
right? So, and with the game that they're all about right now is Roblox. So to say to them like, "Hey kids, come play this instead," I don't think that's going to be taken up right away.
Probably not.
But
It's probably not gonna go over well.
it kind of blends into what I would be curious about is if I can get my older son into something a bit more like my game. It's almost like the reverse of you.
Yep.
You had gotten them into your games, and now you're like, you know what? No, I'm going to go back and meet them where they are. And I'm
Right.
saying, no, they're
No.
going to meet me where I am.
Hey, welcome past Jeff. Meet me next year, everyone.
And the one I think about is Torchlight, for instance.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we had done Dungeon Crawler Mini as far as Minecraft Dungeons,
Yes.
which is an excellent game, but it ultimately just it airs a bit too much on that like kind of cartoony Minecraft world,
Right.
as opposed to something that's a bit more craft is the wrong word, bespoke like a Torchlight, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious if I could get him into that loop, and that's like ends up being like our little like every weekend, like we spend that 2 hours kind of like grinding away on it together to go across. My one challenge would be I don't know that my youngest would have would have necessarily like the wherewithal to kind of participate meaningfully in it.
Right. Yeah.
So that is the one other thing. I don't know. Have you generally found that like because they're both now older, they've passed the threshold and they can both easy participate in your game? Like you're all kind of at the quote unquote same level.
Oh yeah, and my youngest will
Mm.
push like almost sometimes they're the number one player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
so those skill sets kind of even out at a certain age where depending on your effort level,
Yeah.
you can really push past your own age. So
Mm. Okay, because that's where we haven't quite. That'll be the one. I think this year might be too early for it. For
yeah.
that reason, is that because I could do it, but probably with my oldest, not my youngest, and then that creates this weird imbalance where it's like, let's play game, kids, not you.
Right. Yeah, I get you.
So, however, though, I think it'd be more glomming onto yours to say, meet them where they are, like make that additional effort this year to play with them in their games, except for Roblox.
See, now that we're talking about it, just as a side note, and I think I've said this before, we might have done like the year ahead another year, but I wanted to get my kids into Final Fantasy 14. Like I wanted an MMO.
Right.
I wanted them in the
Interesting.
world where we could all wave to each other and we're this other avatar, right? They
Do
have
a
their own
raid.
PCs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that,
Fascinating.
the teamwork there, and then they could play by themselves within that world as well, right? And then come back and maybe they've jumped 20 levels and
Yeah.
old dad is,
They can carry weak old dad here.
yeah, but I thought that would always be cool. I just don't know if they're, really there for that kind of, because it's not boring, but it can be much like reading a book, right? Instead of watching a movie, if that makes sense, right? Like
Yeah.
you do have to kind of experience the world and pay attention. But I always thought that would be a cool one. So maybe, I'll plant
Nice,
the
man.
seed and then see if they come around and it's their idea, not mine.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah.
Like pay
Think
one of their
about
friends
this.
pay one of their friends like $5 to mention it a bunch. Like, hey, listen, I just need you to like.
No,
Here's
man,
a
like,
crisp 5.
Santa's gonna come back. He's like, Santa gave me a Final Fantasy 14 pass. This is amazing.
So cool. One last one for myself would be, so what happened this year was, again, we had experimented with a little bit of gaming after schools. I mentioned
Right.
this in the last episode, and that was taken away because school performance dipped. And then they asked about it. It's like, but I just want to play games every day. Then I'm like, fine, get all of your grades up. If all your grades are through the roof and your teachers are really happy with performance and you've done all your homework, like I don't
Yeah.
care. At that point, do whatever you please. Like if you're performing at a high level with like academically, the world's your oyster. We'll do whatever you please. But right now, like what you've shown is that you'll come home and that's like your only focus, and homework in school suffers. So I don't want to say carrot. That's in the wrong way, but it's sort of kind of laid this expectation that if you want to get back to that place where you're playing games more often, you've got to take care of your responsibilities first. Until we see that, like there's going to be that imbalance, and I'm curious how he has butted up against that a bit, where the desire is there. He's like, like I want to do good in school, my teacher to like me so I can get games, but also I don't like school. I don't like doing this. So you got this like these two warring factions, and I'm curious how that'll play out in the next year.
Yeah, no, I can, well, again, future Jeff being in the future. We have had that where we didn't take away games, but there was definitely limits on them, right? And they've been doing well in school, so that's not the carrot for my kids. It's the cleaning up for supper, right? They have to do their chores, they have to put away their stuff, they have to make sure their bedroom's clean. And if we have to pop out to get teachers' gifts or stuff, they have to stop their games and come and do that task. That's where the pushback is. They don't want to because they're in a game, right? And dad knows what type of games these are.
I'm in a match.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, you're not losing any leaderboard position or anything. Like, you just don't want to go and do this thing. So if that's becoming a problem, we need to stop.
And I just love that you can ask the intelligent questions. But I'm in a match. Did you just when did you start this match? Like, I
Yeah.
just started it. No, 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 no.
Is it a time match? Is it the
Yeah.
point match? Like, who are you playing with?
How long have you done? It's like, it's like, we're almost done. It's like, all right, you got like 5.
And I have all the apps too, right? So I have them on my Steam chat. So I'm like,
Mm.
well, it says here you're not playing that game. You're playing this game. Like,
Wow. Just
so
sleuthing. It's like, oh, I hate being my
yeah.
dad's friend on Steam.
See?
Yeah, that. So I'll be curious to see where it goes. I don't want to. What's good too is like I've been able to lay out the case because it's like, guys, like for me myself, it's like if I have work to do, if I didn't get my work done during the day, I have to do it at night, and I don't get to play. Like it's not just a parent and kid power dynamic. This is just life. You don't take
Yeah.
care of your responsibilities, you don't get to experience the joys. Like there's a great quote from like a power lifter. It's like, difficult choices, easy life; easy choices, difficult life.
Mm.
Right? And it's like you've got to take care of it. And if you do, your time's your own. We can do whatever you please. So I'll be curious to see where it plays out. It'll be that push and pull of like, how much do you hate school versus how much do you love gaming?
That's right. Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what wins? Does love triumph hate in this case or not?
Looking forward to next year's report card, just like from yourself, not
Yeah.
from their actual school report cards, but that
Well,
kind of goes together.
what I should do is really take a couple screenshots of like my year in gaming from last year and compare it to
Yes,
this one that's coming. Because
that's true.
us as the eternal optimists of how everything's going to keep getting better, as we say, I'd
That's
like
right.
to think my next year game review is going to be much more shining.
A great report card from
There,
Trevor.
we did it. You
Yeah,
can stay on the podcast.
that's
Congratulations.
right. You're
Next
earning
week
a
it's just
year.
Jeff. Listen, we're holding auditions. Are you a dad? Do you like gaming?
Please reach out.
How's your poetry? Just like
Yeah, yeah. We'll start with like guest spots and then just slowly work them in.
work them in and me out.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, probably not going to happen. We're going to hopefully stick around for a year. We'll end it up there for the year. Once again, guys, we cannot end this episode, especially hopping into a new year, without one more thank you. Everybody that's listened, everybody who's written in, anybody with a nice word to say, like Jeff and I cannot thank you enough. It means the absolute world to us. Again, we're just a couple normal gaming dads putting together a show here to catalog our gaming journey, and having you guys with us, other gaming dads, means the absolute world to us. So thank you so much. I think you'd mimic that, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will give shout outs to the ones that reach out and look out for us. They're sending us the games, they're sending us the demos, the beta tests, all that stuff.
right.
It's very much appreciated that we are, sometimes top of mind and that we can connect outside in the Twitter sphere, thread sphere, social sphere, and just keep that, again, that conversation going. So again, thank you.
It was a great year, and it's going to be an even better year next year. So stick around. Can't wait to see you there. So if you'd like to get a hold of us, you can find us at our website, newdadgaming.com, or at newdadgaming on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, all the other socials. If you want to follow us on Twitch at New Dad Gaming Podcast, I've been trying to stream on Fridays. Probably won't over the holidays, but we'll be continuing that and having a great time. I'd love to hear from you with any other questions. If you do like the show, find us on all your podcasting networks, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Caster, anywhere where you get your podcast. Just search for New Dad Gaming. Everyone, thank you once more. Here's to an amazing year we're all going to have. And until next time, my name is Trevor, and I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old.
And just remember, just because you became a dad
Does not mean it's game over.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
See you in 2024.